You ready? You pressing it? Tell me when the red dot is there, when you can see.
There's a red dot.
Excellent. I'm going to start talking. If you want to join me, you can join me. Just don't move the camera when you come through. Hi everyone, welcome to another video. If it's your first time here, this channel follows our journey at trying to build up our homestead on our land here in central Portugal. This video took a very long time to make. It took 18 months of work.
It's telling to join.
And it took me about 6 months to edit this video, which is a lot longer than we thought it would. So it's a lot longer than our usual ones, but I wanted to show the whole process of what we've been doing here all together, right?
Yeah.
And so I hope you enjoy. If you do, please don't forget to like, subscribe if you're new here. It really helps us out. And stay watching until the end because there's a special surprise.
September 2021 marked our 2-year anniversary since arriving in Portugal. It's been quite an adventure, so I thought this would be a good time to look back and see what we've been up to. Also, this video is going to be a little different. I wanted to try and convey just how much work and time it takes to do what we're doing. Unlike other YouTube videos which are edited to an entertaining length, I wanted to give you the experience of just how long it takes in real life. When we first arrived on the land, this is what it looked like. Everywhere was covered with tall bushes. You couldn't see past them in some areas, which gave it a very forest-like and wild, feral feeling. It also meant the first thing we had to do was start carving out small paths so we could get through the land. Since we didn't want a tractor compacting the earth, we cleared by pulling out the individual plants, which wasn't too difficult but does take time, especially in such a large area. However, going through the land on foot and using our own 2 bare hands to clear the earth for a more biodiverse future is a very uplifting feeling. I don't enjoy ripping plants out of the ground, but seeing the unbalanced state of the plants on our land, it was clear we had to change some things in order to heal the earth. Part of this, of course, is planting and managing the rainwater, but for us, we needed our Tipi in order to spend more time on the land, and for this, we needed to level the floor. Now I can't tell you how much earth I've dug and moved as part of this project so far, but perhaps watching in real time just how long it takes to break up the earth will give us all an idea. I won't be showing you the whole thing, don't worry, that would be probably too much even for this video, but just have a look and see how long it takes to fill up one bin and empty it on the other side. Okay, what do you say we maybe speed things up just a little bit? So here's what it looks like sped up. Now that it's full, I have to move the bin, taking the earth from the high ground and packing it down low leads to an even floor, theoretically. Okay, so let's leave the leveling for now and come to the next stage, which is building up the retainer wall in order to hold the earth and stop it from continuing to erode and eventually it reverting back to its natural slope. And for that, we need rocks. Lots of them. Without a doubt, the task that has taken the longest to complete is digging up rocks from around the land. I've no idea how many wheelbarrows I've filled and emptied, but I can tell you it's still not enough. This is our first time working with dry stone masonry, and I must say, placing the stones on top of each other, finding the right spot for each one, is a very soothing and meditative task. Collecting rocks from the land, however, is a much more frustrating and daunting job. It just takes so long to scavenge the land, look for rocks that are buried underground and hidden, dig them up, and then eventually fill up a wheelbarrow. which sometimes takes longer than it should. Once the wheelbarrow is full, it's time to carefully push the wheelbarrow all the way across the land back to where the building site is. Now, if you're wondering why it takes me so long to get the rocks back to where we're building, it's because in the immediate area around the Tipi, we've collected all of the rocks we could find. So now to find more and more rocks, we have to go further and further away. And start all over again. A wonderful thing throughout this whole process has been the fact that Tao, our son, has been able to join in with all of the different stages. When it came to collecting rocks in a wheelbarrow, he became an expert at scouring the land, looking for little rocks that he could pick up and throwing them into the wheelbarrow with the rest. It's been a really magical journey having him alongside us throughout all of this. Now, of course, we need rocks not only for the retainer wall, but also for the bottom layer of the floor. And for that, we need wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow filled with rocks and boulders of all different shapes and sizes. And over the following months, day by day, we could see the floor slowly starting to fill up with more and more rocks. Each wheelbarrow bringing us closer to our final goal of having the whole floor filled. Don't forget, each one of these rocks was individually picked up by somebody's pair of hands and placed into a wheelbarrow to then be carried along and joined all together here to this rather unique image. Now, at this point, it is worth mentioning that we didn't collect all of the materials for the floor just from the land. There is one thing that we did buy from outside, and that's gravel. I can't even imagine how long it would take us to rake up enough rocks to have this amount of gravel ready for us, but I can assure you it would have been a long time. So we decided, since we've been pretty good in getting everything else that we need, we'd splurge and treat ourselves to a ready truck filled with gravel. I can't tell you how much easier it is to just take the wheelbarrow up the hill, fill it up with gravel from the huge pile, and empty it onto the next layer of the floor. Just doing this repeatedly was so much easier than having to go around searching for rocks or anything else we needed. Today, after we've been working for so long and sifting, as you'll see later, we actually have quite a bit of gravel we've set aside that we'll be able to use, hopefully, for our next projects in the future. But for now, for this project, where we were, collecting that layer of rocks took so many months, we just decided we'd have to treat ourselves to having some prepared materials. Once the gravel was on, I had to carefully spread it out, sometimes using my bare hands just because it was simpler getting in between all of the different rocks that were sticking out. But eventually we wanted to be relatively smooth because the next layers would be built on top of that. And as always, Tao helping us to stamp down the gravel layer and make sure it's all packed nicely. Now for this, since we didn't have anything store-bought or any tools, we decided to just use a pretty big log stump and roll it over the ground to try and make it as compact and as flat as we could. And although I don't actually have any footage, later on for the final layer before plastering with cob, I actually took off all the bark from this log and then used the smoother surface to again compact and level out that top layer. And by the end we were getting a bit better at it. It took a while to learn the skill for it to go smoothly. Now for this next part, once the gravel was in place, I wanted to install the underground pipe. Now this was part of our passive cooling system for the Tipi, and if you want to see more about that, I actually made a long video detailing the floor design. You can watch it here in the top right corner. But here I'm just carefully packing the pipe into the gravel, securing it so that it doesn't move once we're starting to lay the final layer. Once we'd finished with the gravel layer, it was now time for the earth. Now, this layer we didn't actually mix with fibers yet, because we have a pretty good combination of clay to sand on the land from what we'd seen from working with it. So we were actually waiting to dig the rain ditches until now, when we could actually use the earth directly. I'll show you later the drains, how they work in the rain, but this way we could actually dig it directly and then take the earth onto the gravel and start building up the next layer and be a bit more efficient. Now, I must say here that we are very lucky and very, very grateful that we had all the people, different people who came to help us with digging, and it really made a big, big difference. So it did take us quite a while to dig all the material that we'd need, and we wanted the ditches to actually be quite wide and quite deep, because we have rich clay earth, and there can be these real sudden flash storms and rainstorms that suddenly come, especially after a long season of dry summer, and we had to be able to accumulate that volume of water so that it wouldn't just come and wash the teepee away. Here you can see what the final result was. I'm trying to show the path leading down to the teepee. These are the two swales that will be one swale once we've finished with them. They're going to go all the way across the horizontal line of the land, but right now we wanted to focus and start them where directly above the teepee so that they could start helping with some of the load. And here you can see this is the slightly bigger one that goes all the way around the top of the teepee and leads all the water, hopefully most of the water that comes, down to the two sides of the teepee. So there's a lot more work to be done. We haven't finished. We were really trying to dig the easiest part and not work too much at shaping them or really doing too much beyond, because we wanted to get the earth as quickly as possible to use it to build. And so here we're going to have to dig some more, but in the future it'll go all the way down here. You'll see this is where it's going to be into the gardens and the swale systems over there to carry on utilizing the water as it goes. The next stage is compacting the earth as much as we can so that it'll be sealed and relatively level. Now with the music all synchronized, it looks beautiful and almost like a dance. You don't quite get the sense, but I assure you, standing there in the sun, tamping it down, it felt a bit more, well, something like this. You thought that was it? I was stamping that earth for days, hours at a time. Until finally it was all compact and flat. Well, as much as it was going to be for this level. The next stage was actually starting to put up the teepee so we could see the shape and size of it on the ground and understand any last corrections that we had to do before continuing forward. Now, to do this, we had to find a place that was flat and large enough for us to be able to spread the teepee canvas all the way out, so that we could then measure the poles where the tripod is tied together and fold the canvas back onto the lift pole in a specific way to make it easier to unfold afterwards and cover the teepee poles. I think you'll understand it a bit better when you see the teepee standing. This is actually the first time that we're doing this, and so realizing we had it the wrong way around, which by the way happens every time we try and open it up, we had to then turn it over and pull it out from underneath. Now you can start to get a sense of how massive and cumbersome the canvas is, and when we have to fold it up around the pole, it really becomes quite heavy. So that's why for this part we actually asked some friends and people to come and help. Here we're securing it to the pole and tying it up with the belts and whatever we can find to make sure that it doesn't unravel and doesn't open up. I actually don't have any footage, I'm afraid, of any of the foldings, which are very specific fan foldings to help it come off later, as I said. It took a long time and we really wanted to make sure that it would hold when we picked it up. Once we finished that, it was time to start lifting the teepee poles. And so we start with the tripod. And as we slowly hold it in place, we start adding the skeletal poles one by one. Now, it's worth mentioning that at this point, we've actually raised the teepee poles 5 times and had to bring them down for various reasons. So this footage that you're seeing is not the final teepee that's standing now on the land, but this was the first one that I actually shot, and if you'll notice, the poles are very, very straight, sitting in place beautifully. Unfortunately, following different events, right now our poles are not looking as good. And so the teepee itself has sort of changed shape a little bit, but we're going to work with it and hopefully it'll be okay. I just wanted to let you know that the final teepee that you'll see when we're doing the actual cob floor is different from this. And here comes the very special binding where you start going round and round the teepee with the rope, each time tightening it a bit more, and this is what holds all of the poles together as the final stage before raising the canvas. And raising that lift pole takes a lot. As you've probably realized by now, this is not a tutorial. We're still in the process of building the teepee and the floor, and so once we finish everything and feel a bit more confident, we would love to put a simple tutorial of what the different stages are. This is just to show the journey that we've been on in also trying to learn this wonderful structure. We didn't actually film pulling the cover over, so we missed that piece. But here we are, sitting in front of our brand new setup teepee, enjoying a light lunch. And so once the teepee is up, now comes the next stage where we go back to digging. And here we're going to start sifting the earth from all the little rocks. We have 2 sifts that we put them through. You can see the larger one here on the wheelbarrow. And the material that we're left with is a much, much finer combination of a lot of clay and a little sand, and a very stable product for us to start making the cob with. Unfortunately, because we're doing it this way, we need quite a lot of material. So I dig out the swale and fill up the wheelbarrow, and then when the wheelbarrow is full of the first screened material, I take it over to where Leela is working. and she does the second filtering. And we repeat. And after so many hours of digging and sifting, we eventually managed to assemble enough for a substantial pile of sifted mixture of earth. It's very fun to touch and very smooth, and mixed with the water and dried, it does become a very smooth and hard surface. So we were very happy with the outcome, and it might not look like much, but it was a lot of hours of work to get to that state.
Hey, so I wasn't planning on filming. I actually don't have any of my equipment here, but I decided I have to share this with you. We have a hole on the land that was here from when we arrived, and in the winter it fills up, and in the summer dries right up. And so today I decided, as we've discussed a few times, end of August, the hottest, driest time, to come and try digging it. And so if you'll see here, that's the level of the hole that was when I started. And now I've dug right down, and I don't know if you can see that, but I've hit water. And if you look closely, you can see it's pretty clear. I mean, that's with all the mud and everything, but it's already looking very good. And that's water that's here at the end of August, which means it's actually, as we suspected, an underground river. That goes from there. You can sort of see it. So this is fantastic news. Obviously we're gonna have to filter it, see how pure it is and whether it's good to go, or we have to do something else. But just having water on the land after we didn't have and didn't know if we ever would have is very big news. So I was excited to share it with you.
So we decided to use the same technique again, and as I was digging the hole, this was the height that I'd reached in the beginning just to reach the water, I collected the earth that was coming out of the well here on the side, and then I began the same process for this material, which was grey and should be a little bit purer clay and offer a better seal against water. And as we did before, this was the same process. I'd fill up the wheelbarrow, and once I had the first level of sifted material, I took it up to the Tipi floor. And there I'd pour it out on top of the layer and flatten it out and try to get it as level as possible. Obviously it would move as it got tamped down more and more, but as a start, to do my best to try and level it all out, so it would give us a good starting point for the next layer. And over time, after again many hours of digging, this is what the hole, or what we're calling the well now, looked like. All of that earth was taken out with the buckets by hand and just digging with hand tools. And then came our big day. We actually decided to enlist some help from our friends in the area.
Sharing your time with us and coming to help us, it's a great support, and we highly appreciate that. So what we're going to do, we're going to have like two teams. Two people were going to be working inside and putting the material there on the ground and leveling it. if you see inside, there is the circle. Okay, so we're going to start around the circle, and then we're going to do the sides, and then the far end, and in the end we're going to do the close end. The second team will mix the material.
And so I just want to say once again, thank you so much, all of you who came and donated your time and energy, and some from near, some from far. Really, it was such a good day, and we had a lot of fun, and we were very pleased to be able to work with all of you. So thank you so much. I must say, as the day went on, we worked pretty well together. There was a good team of people outside who were taking care of mixing the material, preparing it, and there was always a team of people inside who were using it up almost at the same rate that we were making it, and really doing a fantastic job, everyone involved. It was a lot of fun. It was the first real big project that we've done with a lot of other people. We had some help on the teepee, but it wasn't a full day like this was. And it was a lot to manage and make sure that everyone is doing something but also enjoying what they're doing. It's a lot to juggle, but I think it was a success. I'm happy to say that all of the water that we use actually came from the hole that I dug. There had been some rain, a rainstorm a few days before, and so it filled up rather nicely. And we were able to do all of the mixing of the cob that we did on that day with water from the well. So that was very exciting. And as the day wore on, we actually were running a bit low on material, and so we needed to get some more. And I must say, my parents, who just happened to be on a visit, were fantastic. They both pulled their weight and did their fair share. And my dad even came and helped with some of the digging of the swale at the top, to get some more material, sift it all the way down to the second sifting with finer clay, and then being able to immediately use that material to make some more. So it was really fantastic to see everyone in such good spirits. So thank you all. There you have it, the final product. Now, after that day, we were very excited, obviously, to see our work finally finished, and we happily went home to wait for the cob to dry. Unfortunately, as is always with these things, we had a bit of a disappointment the next day. So as you can see, most of the cob and clay cracked. We had too much clay in our cob mixture. And this was due to the fact that we didn't actually add any sand, so our land is very rich with clay, and we wanted to just try and see how it would go. The second reason is that the teepee itself is actually a very dry structure because of the constant airflow, and so it was drying the cob much too quickly, which is what caused the cracks. So instead of wallowing in our own self-pity and bemoaning our terrible fate, we decided to try something that we'd never actually seen before. We wanted to sort of wet and scrape the top layer of cob so that it would mix in with each other a bit more without it drying as quickly. And you can see here that the result wasn't too bad. There are still a lot of cracks which are less visible in the video, except for those few big cracks that you can see. That was a new part that we did. But for us, and for how far we've come, we decided that we would have to push forward, see how it goes, get to the end, and hopefully we would be able to make it livable. Which brings us to the final step. You have to realize we've been doing this for over a year and a half, just working on the floor. I can't tell you what it felt like, pouring that first layer of oil and working my way around, actually oiling our cob floor for the teepee. Words can't describe. I honestly didn't think we'd ever get to this stage. I thought we'd just carry on working on this floor till the day we died.
But to finally be here, to see the floor being stained dark brown, the oil soaking in, and knowing that we are so close to finishing is really hard to express with words. Now obviously we have about 5 or 6 layers of this oil where we have to let it dry between layers, so we're not quite finished yet, but as we keep saying, this is the closest we've ever been to finishing. And there you have it, the entrance mosaic that my wonderful wife Leela did, and the rest of the floor all oiled with the first render.
Well, that's it. If you stayed watching until here, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We put a lot of time and effort into these videos, and obviously a lot more work into the land. So I hope now you realize why it's taking us so very long to do everything that we're doing here. We really appreciate your support, all the comments that you leave, all the likes, they really do help us. And we'd really like to continue growing and making these videos so that you can watch and hopefully be inspired and even learn something and do it yourself. So that's it from us. Do you want to say something?
Yeah.
You want to say thank you for watching?
No.
No. What do you want to say?
I was saying.
Okay, I'll say thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and stay tuned for the final result of how the teepee will look once it's all actually set up, which I hope won't be too long until we actually start making it look more like a home. Okay, that's it from us. Thank you very much. Until next time, bye. You want to say bye? Bye. Okay, perfect.